Welcome back to Bazaar Morning Call. Well, the SGX Nifty 4 now is indicating a steep fall in the red, down about 150 odd points. But there are plenty of stocks to talk about. So without wasting any time, let's get our entire research team on board. Anuj, what are you looking at today?
Sonia, again, the same point. If the market has to show resilience, then you focus on relative strength and the stocks which are the go-to stocks for our markets, which is SBI and ICICI Bank, because that in turn will impact the Bank Nifty as well. You want to see if the market is participating in this global risk off and to what extent, and then perhaps take that call. But I mean, as I said, if there has to be recovery, it has to be led by the banks. But what about the auto sales? They mostly or largely looked good.
They did look good, actually. So, just to give you the top four right now, Maruti actually reported a good set of numbers this time around. It was slightly lower than what Nomura's estimates were, but nevertheless, there was a good growth both in the domestic as well as the export space. If you look at the overall numbers, 104% total growth is what we've seen. Domestics were up by 125%. Exports were up by about 22%. So I'm going with green over there. Tata Motors as well, this time around, the growth was led largely by the passenger vehicle space. Passenger EVs were up 239%, although a lower base over there. But commercial vehicles were not too good. It was a low single-digit growth that we saw for Tata Motors. Then you had Hero MotoCorp. I'm going with red over there because Hero MotoCorp's total numbers were down by 2% and the scooter sales were down by about 2.8%. The only company in the entire auto space that has reported so far, which has reported degrowth. So I'm going with red for Hero MotoCorp. And finally, the stock of the day could really be Eicher Motors because it was a blockbuster sales coming in for Royal Enfield, a 145% growth. It's a record sales for them. They had a new launch, the Hunter 350 as well, which has done really well. And it could, of course, be inventory stocking to dealers ahead of the festive season and all of that. But the wholesale numbers are looking very good. So going with green over there.
All right, that's auto sales in focus. Now, oil and gas companies will also be in focus. Gas prices have been increased as expected, but they've been increased much lesser than the quantum which was set to go up by. So, I mean, how will the street view this? Sonal is standing by with the facts and the interpretation. Sonal, hi, good morning.
Good morning, Prashant. Well, yes, a lot of updates in the oil and gas space. Let me start with what has happened with gas price hikes. As you mentioned, it is lower than what was expected. A 40% hike versus an expectation of around 80 to 100%. They have been increased to $8.57 per MMBTU. That is for the second half of FY23. Now, ceiling for gas from difficult fields like KG Basin, that has been set at $12.46 per MMBTU. That is a hike of just 25%. Now, remember, Kirit Park Committee that was supposed to give out their new formula by September end will now be giving it by mid-October. So that is the next thing that we'll be watching out for. In terms of impact analysis, now after this hike, IGL is required to hike CNG prices by 8 rupees per kg, MGL by 9 rupees per kg. And this is something that could impact volumes for these companies. Gujarat Gas does not have much exposure to domestic gas. Gas costs for GAIL's LPG segment will rise, and that's why their earnings in that segment could be impacted. And Reliance Industries will benefit from a minor hike that they've seen in the KG Basin, that is the difficult field. The other thing that has happened is that windfall taxes, they have been cut. On crude oil production, it has been cut to 8,000 rupees per ton from 10,500 rupees per ton. Export duty on diesel has been cut into half to 5 rupees per litre. And a positive for these companies is that aviation duty that has been scrapped with effect from 2nd October. CLSA says that this implies a $5 per barrel cut in taxes for these companies. And that means that implies post-tax realization of $74.9 per barrel, whereas these stocks are pricing in $40 per barrel as realization. So a big upside for these stocks, so they could be in the green today.
Okay, a big upside for the oil and gas names. Thanks a lot, Sonal, for explaining that to us. Well, moving on, Nigel is with us to talk about Coal India and why you should keep that on your radar today. Nigel, morning.
Well, morning. The operational update came in for September. The production numbers looks very, very good. So they're ramping up big time, close to 12% growth out there. Offtake, well, it's slowed down a little bit, though it's a little bit higher at the same time last year. And keep in mind, this is a bit of a monsoon period, so still they're clocking close to 49 million tons. Between April to September, they've done very, very well. Production is up close to around 20%. The offtake is up by close to around 8%. And they say that their offtake target, well, it surpassed what they had targeted. They have done closer to 102% of what they targeted. And on the production side of things, they are targeting 700 million tons and they've achieved 43% odd. So things looking good for Coal India. The only problem is, will there be some fresh supply coming in there? Will there be an OFS by the government of India? That's something that's plaguing the stock. But otherwise, the operational update looks pretty good. Back to you.
Okay, thanks a lot for that. So that's the list of our top 10 stocks today. In case you missed out on any, here's the list. Positive news flow on names like Eicher Motors, Tata Motors, Maruti Suzuki, Coal India, Oil India and ONGC. While stocks with negative news flow today, there's Hero MotoCorp, IGL, MGL and Gujarat Gas. But there are some more stocks that are in the news, specifically on the auto space. You have companies like Escorts, Kubota, Ashok Leyland and TVS Motor that came out with their numbers. So let's start with Ashok Leyland, which saw the highest sales since the month of March 2022. Very good numbers coming through. So we're going with green over there, a total sales growth of 84%. And the medium and heavy commercial vehicle space has come back in a big way. So that's looking pretty good, up almost 124%. That's followed by TVS Motor, where there has been weakness this time around. Overall sales growth was fine. It was a 9% growth, but exports have been suffering. As we've been telling you, Nigeria and Africa, the whole Africa region, Nigeria, etc., have been under pressure. Egypt as well, and exports have suffered for both TVS and Bajaj Auto. Finally, we'll talk about Escorts Kubota, where the numbers have been pretty strong for them. Tractor sales have gone up by almost 39% year on year, while in the domestic market, domestic tractor sales up by 43%. So I'm going with green over there as well. But Abhishek is standing by to give us some more stocks that are in the news this morning. Abhishek, good morning.
Morning, Sonia. So there is an operational update coming in from Federal Bank wherein the loan growth momentum is pretty strong. So to start with, deposit growth is at 10% YOY and about 3.2% quarter on quarter. So YOY basis, it's the best in last 6 quarters. The CASA ratio or the low-cost deposit ratio has remained steady at around 36.5%. However, the loan growth, that has surprised positively despite the base effect. YOY, it's grown by 19.5% and sequentially by 6.2%. So YOY, the growth is best in last 14 quarters, while sequentially, despite a high base effect, it's the best in last 16 quarters. The CD ratio, or as we call as credit deposit ratio, that's the best in last 16 quarters, coming in at about 15 to 16 quarters, that is, coming in at about 86.7%. So MCX is the other stock on radar. They have extended services to 63 moons for trading and clearing. So it's extended by 3 months, that is up to December 2022. Just to alert our viewers, the arrangement was due to end in September 2022. Back to you.